Hi, good to see you. I'm Max, and in this video we will talk about... Sorry, wrong slide. It's been already 3 times that I'm recording this video. I'm being very angry here, getting very angry. So, wrong slide. In this video we'll talk about what is pledging and its impacts on the stake pool ecosystem and, Cardano in general, actually, because what affects the stake pool ecosystem affects the Cardano ecosystem as a whole. But before we start, let me go back to the first slide. Before we start, 50% of you guys, or actually more than that, more than 50% of you guys who are watching this video aren't following us on YouTube. And this is, in my opinion, a scandal. It's horrible. It shouldn't be legal, actually. So make sure to make sure to follow us on on YouTube, and so you don't miss any of our videos, actually, right? Because we're making videos on a daily basis, and it would be such a pity to miss our daily videos about Cardano. Let's get into it. So, what is pledging exactly? I'm having to laugh. I can't laugh. Okay. What is pledging exactly? Well, pledging is the idea that you delegate to your own stake pool. So, Bob has a stake pool, and Bob wants to show to people that he believes in his stake pool. And so what Bob does is that he puts his money where his mouth is, which means that he puts his money in his own stake pool. He delegates his money to his own stake pool. That's pledging. And the idea why pledging is important is that you want to show as a stake pool operator that you have stake in the game to the delegators, but also to the protocol. And the reason why it's important to show that you have stake in the game to the protocol is because if there wasn't any stake in the game, well, the Cardano as protocol would be vulnerable to what we call Sybil attacks. And Sybil attacks are essentially an attack where the malicious actor creates, for example, 1,000 stake pools. So he creates 1,000 stake pools, and he hopes that people will delegate to at least one of these 1,000 stake pools. And because there are so many stake pools, because he has flooded Daedalus, people will probably at least delegate to at least one of these stake pools. And at least one of his stake pools will be popular, even if he's actually a malicious actor, because he's essentially spamming the network. And so the idea behind pledging is that by showing to the protocol that you have stake in the game, well, in order to be, if I may say it like that, important, in order to have some, to matter, if I may say it like that, on a protocol level, you need ADA, you need pledge, right? And so, if a malicious actor wants to create now 1,000 stake pools, he will need to pledge millions and millions of ADA in order to essentially be on the same level of importance as individuals who have just one stake pool and which just placed all their ADA in that single stake pool, if I may say it like that. So that's the core idea behind stake pool. It's 1, proving to your delegators that you are in the same boat as they are, and 2, proving to the protocol that you actually care about the protocol and that you aren't a malicious actor. And pledging currently is actually entirely that. It's just you pledge to a stake pool and that's it. The problem is with the current way of pledging, there's actually one major problem, and the problem is that it has 0 impact. Pledging right now is kind of useless, right? You can pledge millions of ADA, and you will obviously show to delegators that you have stake in the game. You will be a bit more profitable than a stake pool with no pledge, but at the end of the day, it will not matter that much. And that's the core problem. And that's why IOHK is right now working on remaking essentially the A0 factor, which is the pledge, you could call it the pledge factor, if it was like that, of the network. So what that means is that in the future, we will probably see pledging gain a lot of importance, which means that it will start to get interesting as a stake pool to pledge your funds to your stake pool. And what that means is that right now there is little to no incentive to pledge. A lot of stake pools are doing it, but there's little to no reason to do it, aside from, of course, showing to your delegators that you have stake in the game. But when pledging, when A0 will be updated, if you miss it like that, and pledging will gain importance, it will start to be very interesting, because it will be so much more profitable for a stake pool to have a big pledge. But that's where it starts to get very interesting to look at the mechanics exactly of pledge, and that's really what I'm trying to communicate here. So to listen carefully. Pledging requires a ton of trust, right? When you delegate to a stake pool as delegator, you just go into data list, it's secure, you click on the stake pool, you click delegate, you enter your password, and that's it. Your money is delegated. And there is no security risk. You essentially depend on Daedalus as a wallet in terms of security. And Daedalus is pretty secure, so there's no reason, no apparent reason to worry about. However, when you pledge, you need to go through a lot of steps, which include, for example, setting up what we call a CLI wallet, which is essentially a command line interface wallet. So you need to go, essentially, if you are a Mac, you will open the terminal. If you are on Windows, you will open the command line. And you will need to create a node through the command line, and then create a wallet, and then send your funds to that wallet, which is really not user-friendly at all, actually. So even just that, actually, makes it already quite difficult, actually, to pledge for someone who is not that technical. But I guess, if you're a stake pool operator, you are at least a bit technical. But what is incredibly important with pledging, that's actually what's game changing about pledging, actually, compared to delegating, is that if you pledge with if there's just one wallet pledging to a stake pool, no problem. However, if there are two wallets pledging to the same stake pool, as a stake pool operator, you will need to create two delegation certificates. So one delegation certificate for each wallet pledging to the stake pool as a stake pool owner, and you will need to register these stake pool these delegation certificates in how can I say this, in the stake pool certificates. Now, this may seem like Chinese to you, like, what does that mean? Well, what that means is that when you create a delegation certificates, you need certain addresses, certain keys of the stake pool owners. So in this case, if I'm, for example, Bob, and I have 10,000 ANA to pledge, and let's call him Jake. Jake has 20,000 ANA to pledge, and so Jake and I decide to pledge to create one stake pool, and we will be the two owners of the stake pool. So Jake and I will be pledging to the stake pool as we're the two owners of it. But we don't want to send our funds to one wallet, because well, I guess I don't trust Jake that much, right? I wouldn't handle him all my life savings. I want to keep control of them. So what I do is that I create delegation certificates for Jake, and I create delegation certificates for myself. But what that means is that first, I need to get access to Jake's staking keys, which at the end of the day are quite confidential, right? It's not nearly as if you were asking for the private keys, but it's still something very confidential. I'm not sure what the impact of that is in terms of security, if it was coming in the hands of a malicious actor. But in general, it's not really good to share your keys. And so the idea with the way IOHK has made pledging, is that if you want to pledge with multiple wallets to one stake pool, this process will require a ton of trust. It will require a ton of trust between the parties, and yeah, the reason why is because, well, one actor needs to have the keys from the other parties, which makes it quite, I guess, trust based, I guess you could call it as process, because you need to trust all of the other people that they will first not be taking out their pledge, and second, they will and they need to trust you that you don't screw up their their staking keys, if I say it like that. And the reason why IOHK has made it like that is that it's essentially, I guess you could call it a countermeasure against pledge pools. So, at the end of the day, we call pools stake pools because the goal is that you delegate to your own stake pool. But if pledging was now very easy, well, everyone would delegate, right? Why would you even? Everyone would pledge, right? Why would you even delegate? Why would you even pay fees for delegating while you can pledge, which means 0 fees on rewards, right? That doesn't make sense. And on top of that, it makes the stake pool as a whole much more profitable because there is a bigger pledge once A0 is updated. So there's a clear incentive for stake pools to kind of become pledge pools. And that's the reason why IOHK has made it such a trust requiring process, is because they know that by making it so much based on trusts, it will be very difficult for multiple parties to pledge to one stake pool. Now, the impact of that is that it definitely, I guess, incentivizes single entities which have big treasuries to create stake pools. And the reason why is because if you are a company, for example, and you have a big treasury and you want to have impact on the Cardano ecosystem, well, you have no trouble with just putting a part of that treasury in ADA and pledging it to your own stake pool. And because you don't require external parties, very easily doable. However, if you are a smaller entity with a little treasury and you don't have that much to pledge, and you require someone else's funds in order to bootstrap your stake pool and have enough pledge to become relevant, if I may say it like that. Well, the problem with that is that you'll require trust. And so the party, the whale essentially, is clearly benefiting from the system compared to the fish who needs to get help from a shark or whale, right? And this is not necessarily bad, but it's not necessarily good either, right? It's not necessarily bad because it means that only entities which are willing to put a lot of funds at risk, will be able to eventually create a stake pool, because otherwise they will not be relevant enough, which means that these stake entities will have a lot of stake in the game, which means that these entities will want the best for the network, which means that the network will probably move forward a lot thanks to these entities, because these entities have everything to win in the network moving forward. However, on the other side, it makes it also more difficult for smaller entities to participate, and as an individual, if you don't have that much to pledge, well, you have a problem, right? And as it's very difficult to ask for someone else's pledge, actually help to pledge to your own stake pool, well, you are clearly disadvantaged as a smaller, not a small individual, but as an individual or an entity with a smaller net worth. And so that's really how pledge will actually impact, once it's relevant, will impact the Cardano ecosystem. Is that, and this is for a recap actually, is that single entities with a big treasury are clearly benefiting from this compared to smaller entities with a smaller treasury, which will need the help, external funding in order to bootstrap their stake pool, which will be based on trust, which will make it difficult, right? Now, you can of course, make it legally and create a contract with another entity, so that you are kind of legally bind it in regards with pledging, and that the other person can't screw you up with your staking keys. But it kind of defeats the purpose of blockchain, right? Blockchain is all about not requiring trusts, and in this case, you require trust, and you require legal outside of blockchain documents in order to make it viable on the blockchain. Like, it kind of defeats the purpose of it. And so that's why, in my opinion, entities which have a lot of funding clearly benefits from the way pledging is implemented on Cardano, aside from the fact that from the start they're already winning, as they have more ADA than small entity. So if you like this video, please make sure to leave a like. Please make sure to follow us on YouTube and on Twitter, where we post also on a daily basis. You know, we are working every single day to get content out there about Cardano. So please, please, please support us by following us. It's the only way, I guess, aside from staking, you can support us. And yeah, I guess that's it. Leave a comment if you like the video and want to share feedback. And yeah, see you tomorrow. Bye.